Welcome back into the Fantasy Football Fellas YouTube channel. My name is Lucas Wenzel, and today, 8 must-start players ahead of Week 3 of Fantasy Football, 2 players at each position. Who should you be starting to help dominate your league mates this week? Before we dive into that list, though, if you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you do that. Turn on those notifications too. That way you'll be alerted when all of our new episodes are up. Tons of content coming up for you every single day, all throughout the season. Let's dive into those 8 must-start players now, though. Starting at the quarterback position, Kirk Cousins is our first start of the week. He's currently the quarterback 1 overall through the first 2 weeks, and I absolutely love this matchup for Big Kirko. Big Kirko, baby. No surprise, he's throwing the ball a ton again this year, right? 4th in pass attempts, he's had 88 this year. That's only behind Mac Jones, Matthew Stafford, and CJ Stroud. He's 4th in completion percentage, too, despite all those pass attempts. That's only behind Josh Allen. Gardner Minshew, who really only got in last week. So if you really want to say 3rd, that'd be behind Josh Allen, and then Lamar Jackson is the other name there. He's 2nd in pass yards with 708. That's only 2nd to Tua Tagovailoa, and he's tied for 1st in touchdowns with 6. He's tied with Jordan Love, who surprisingly has thrown 3 throughout the first 2 weeks. So great situation here for Kirk. This game is the highest projected point total of the week at 54 points. So we're looking at a potential shootout here. The Chargers, they've given up the 2nd most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. 24 fantasy points per game they're giving up to quarterbacks. So this is a smash start for Kirk Cousins. He's our consensus quarterback 8. He's my quarterback 8 on the week. Confidently a top 10 option for me this week in a potential shootout with the Los Angeles Chargers. 2nd quarterback must start of the week, Deshaun Watson versus the Tennessee Titans. It's time to pick on the Tennessee Titans again. I pick on the Tennessee Titans. If you listen to the podcast, I pick on the Titans. I'm pretty sure I had a start of the week. Mike Williams was one of my wide receiver starts of the week against the Titans last week. So it's time to pick on him again. Deshaun Watson, look, he's had a bumpy ride to start the year. I get it. I bring up that name here probably like, yikes, he's looked pretty bad, Lucas. Yeah, he has. He salvaged your week 1, though, 45 rushing yards and a score there. He was a quarterback 6 that week. He threw 40 times last week, yet only was able to muster 12.6 fantasy points. So if you're concerned about that, I get it. But have no fear, ladies and gentlemen. He plays the Titans, okay? He plays the Titans. I feel like it is impossible for him to have a bad game against the Titans this week. I love it when the quarterbacks play the Tennessee Titans. Quarterbacks and wide receivers. They've given up the 6th most passing yards this year the Tennessee Titans have. Justin Herbert, he went for 22 fantasy points last week. Now, okay, admittedly, from what we've seen from Deshaun Watson this year, he's probably closer to Derek Carr level in talent, and Carr had 15.6 in week 1. So, you can mix that in however you want, but the thing is, there's no Nick Chubb this week, and with how stout this Tennessee Titans run defense, I don't think Jerome Ford's going to have a great week. He's actually a sit candidate for me this week, but I think Watson's going to kind of be forced to have a bounce-back week here, and I'm still willing to take the chance on him, especially with the upside that he can give you with his mobility. So Deshaun Watson, he is another must-start for me this week at the quarterback position. That's outside of the top 7-8 guys that are always in your lineup no matter what. Let's move on to running backs now. My first running back start of the week, Raheem Mostert. Running back matchups this week are honestly really brutal outside of your obvious guys. Like I could tell you to start Josh Jacobs against the Steelers. Like absolutely, I like a smash start Josh Jacobs this week. I know he's been struggling, but he's absolutely a must start for me there. But he's already in your lineup. Travis Etienne against the Texans. Yeah, he's already in your lineup. Ken Walker against the Panthers. Yeah, he's probably already in your lineup though. So I don't want to do that. I want to try and give you some guys that are a little bit fringy here, and I think Raheem Mostert hosting the Denver Broncos this week could be one of those guys. Now, I know earlier this week, if you're following all of our YouTube videos across the channel, you'll see that Cameron made him a sell candidate this week, and I actually agree with that analysis. This is a ride I'm going to want to get off sooner rather than later. I don't know how long Raheem Mostert is going to stay healthy, but if he is on your team and you haven't sold him yet, I think you're safe to fire him up this week. We're not 100% in love with the matchup with Denver, right? They've kind of been hit or miss. They only allowed Josh Jacobs for 71 total yards and no scores in week 1. Granted, Vegas' offensive line is pretty brutal, but I digress. But then in week 2, right, Ryan Robinson. Oh my gosh. What didn't Ryan Robinson do in week 2? He's a running back 1 overall last week. So it's kind of a bumpy ride here, and I think there's an opportunity here for Raheem Mostert to actually finish as a top 5 back again this week. Jeff Wilson, he's obviously still on IR. Savon Ahmed, he's dealing with a groin injury that he picked up in week 2, and he could miss week 3. And that leaves Devon Achane as the backup, and he has 1 carry this year so far. Just 1 carry last week. So it probably won't be pretty volume this week, but Raheem Mostert could definitely see another 73+% of the snaps. He could hit pay dirt, and he could give you another top 15 week. So I'm firing up Raheem Mostert this week based on the inconsistencies that we've seen with Denver. You got Patrick Surtain on Tyreek Hill, obviously. They'll have things buckled down on the outside if there's no Jalen Waddle this week, if he's still out with a concussion. Raheem Mostert might just get opportunity by default, and that's something I'm willing to throw in my lineup this week. Second running back start of the week, Isiah Pacheco. He's hosting the Chicago Bears at Arrowhead this week, and just like I enjoy picking on the Tennessee Titans defense, I equally enjoy and feel inclined to pick on the Chicago Bears run defense, okay? Normally, I have very little interest in Isiah Pacheco because he doesn't catch passes, and he hasn't scored 10-plus fantasy points in a single game this year. I believe he had 9.4 and 8 in week 1, I believe was a total. But this matchup against the Bears is just too good, my friends. Chicago, they're allowing nearly 29 fantasy points per game to running backs this year. 29 fantasy points per game. Rachaad White, Aaron Jones, they both have gone for 21+ against the Bears this year. Now, I will point out both of them can catch the ball out of the backfield. They both have PPR upside, but do we really think the Bears are going to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs? You can't look me in the face and say that the Bears are going to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs, especially with how bad they've looked on offense. Justin Fields has looked as he's like a robot. Blame the coaching. Attaboy, Justin Fields. But Casey, look, Kansas City's going to be burning a ton of clock in this game. They're going to get up on them early. They're not going to have to throw the ball much. They'll just shove the ball in Isiah Pacheco's stomach and he'll take care of the rest. So he's going to get plenty of run. And if he hits pay dirt, that's icing on the cake for me. I'm willing to throw that in my lineups this week because, again, running back matchups this week are just so ugly. I just don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of these, mid-tier running backs this week. But Isiah Pacheco is one of those guys where, in a favorable matchup, I am willing to start him over a good chunk of guys this week. Let's move on to the wide receiver position now. Amari Cooper versus the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, we're back to picking on the Titans now. Look, Deshaun Watson's the start of the week. I have to make Amari Cooper a start of the week against the Titans. I have zero concerns around his injury. If he's suited up to play against the Steelers on Monday night, he should be fine to go in week 3 against the Tennessee Titans. Now, if he's out, that's a different conversation. Obviously, you're not going to start Amari Cooper. But the Titans, they are such a pass funnel team, y'all. 52 fantasy points per game allowed to wide receivers this year. That is the 3rd most in the league. They have given up the 4th most receiving yards this year. And again, with no Nick Chubb and how tough this Tennessee Titans run defense is, I think Amari Cooper could run absolutely rampant this week. I think you can find pay dirt this week. Our friends at Underdog Fantasy, they're giving you a nice multiplier on Amari Cooper to go higher than half a rushing or receiving touchdown this week. Promo code fellows over there. If you want your first deposit match, they're going to give you a nice multiplier on that. I'm all in on Amari this week. And this is at home too, right? I talk about Jared Goff being a home game merchant, but Amari Cooper, he's like the wide receiver version of Jared Goff. He averages 20 more receiving yards per game and has scored 13 more touchdowns in home games in his career. I fire up Amari Cooper this week. I think he could be in for a massive, massive week against the Tennessee Titans. So now if Amari Cooper feels a little bit too obvious of a start of the week for you, then let me introduce you to my friend Jordan Addison. I absolutely love Jordan Addison. He was my favorite rookie wide receiver coming into this year. I called him a league winner. I called him one of the best values in drafts, and he has gone off to a hot start this year. Only 11 targets, but he's caught 7 of those passes for 133 yards, and he scored twice. He scored in each of the first 2 games this year. And what's encouraging for me is that from week 1 to week 2, we saw his snap share increase from 56 to 69%. Now, it's encouraging to me because if he's putting up those kind of numbers on limited snap count, just imagine when he becomes an integral part of this offense, when he's in 2 wide receiver sets with Justin Jefferson. He's only going to get more and more involved in this offense. And again, it's against the Chargers. And this game has shootout written all over it. Addison will be involved. Look, he could be another big day, just like I said. Underdog, hey, another multiplier on his projection this week. Half a total touchdown. Or half a rushing or receiving touchdown, excuse me. They have a great multiplier on that. If you want to go check that out again, promo code fellas. They'll match your first deposit up to $500 too. Might want to go check that out. But anyways, I'm all over Addison this week. Chargers, again, they're allowing the most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. And I think he absolutely 100% needs to find his way into your lineups for week 3. Let's wrap it up here with the tight ends, baby. Hunter Henry. He is the first tight end start of the week. I went back and forth last week on whether I wanted to include Hunter Henry in the tight end starts of the week. And of course, I fell for Luke Musgrave. Of course I did, because I'm a fool, and I believed in a rookie tight end who couldn't get it done. But I'm back, baby. Better late than never. Better late than never to be in on Hunter Henry, all right? Look, he's averaging 17 fantasy points per game this year. He's currently the tight end 2 overall. He's got 11 of his 13 targets. He's found the end zone in both games this year. And now we think of the Jets. Yeah, they're a pretty tough defense, but they've actually allowed just over 14.5 fantasy points per game to tight ends this year, which is actually the 7th most. And like we look at the tight ends that they played against, like none of Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Jake Ferguson found Pater, but none of them like absolutely exploded in their matchups against the Jets. But Henry has a chance to give you another solid week here at least. And frankly, it doesn't take much to really be a top 10 or 12 fantasy tight end, if we're being perfectly honest. So as long as Henry is still plenty involved in the Patriots passing attack this next week, I'd honestly be looking to start him in your lineups. Let's just ride the hot hand if you're streaming tight ends. Second tight end start of the week. You know how I blame myself for being in on Luke Musgrave? I'm doing it again. Sam LaPorta. He's my second tight end start of the week. And maybe I'll learn. Maybe I'll learn this week, but I can't quit right now. I can't quit the rookie tight ends right now. I'm falling victim for literally everything that I had sworn off. But Sam LaPorta, nice little start to the season here. And this is purely matchup dependent due to the lack of solid options that we have at the position for fantasy football. But look, he's been reliable thus far. 10 receptions on 11 targets. He's averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He actually leads all tight ends right now in yards per route run. It's a phenomenal stat we want to see out of rookie tight ends. And you have Amon-Ra coming into this week banged up. Sounds like he'll probably play, but if he's at 75%, can we get some nice run out of Sam LaPorta this week? We'll see what the verdict is today, with the practice report on injury report, on what Amon-Ra does at today's practice. But Hayden Hurst, look, he caught 5 balls for 41 yards and a score in week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons. So if LaPorta has been the tight end 8 in both week 1 and 2, he's been the tight end 8, ironically. And even if he gives you what he's just been putting out, look, you're getting just kind of a free top 10 tight end. That doesn't give you a lot of flash, but you're not disappointed with at the end of the week when they only give you 3 points. Might not be an explosion, but I think there's an opportunity there for Sam LaPorta this week, given the injury to Amon-Ra St. Brown if he comes into this week banged up, and just the immense opportunity that LaPorta could have in the consistency department as well for your team. Alrighty, that wraps out the starts of the week. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode on the Fantasy Football Fellas YouTube channel. If you want even more weekly fantasy football videos, make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications. That way you know when those videos come up. We have waivers on Monday. We have weekly review, top 10 takeaways on Tuesday. We have trade targets on Wednesday. We have best matchups of the week and worst matchups of the week on Thursday. We obviously have starts in on Friday, and we're going live every Sunday as well. So again, if you subscribe, turn on those notifications, you'll be alerted of all of that. If you want to follow me individually, I'm at Lucas Wenzel on Twitter. Otherwise, for all the other fellas accounts, FF Fellas on Twitter, the FF Fellas on Instagram, Fantasy Football Fellas on Facebook, obviously here on YouTube and TikTok as well. We will see you all Sunday, because we're going live on Sunday. We will see you all then. If you have any start-sit questions, drop them down below. And hey, you know what? Why don't you help somebody else out while you're down there as well? If you leave a comment, respond to a comment as well. We'll get a lot of advice going down there in the comments. So thanks again for tuning in. We will see you all next week. We'll actually see you on Sunday to answer all your start-sit questions. Make sure to tune in. Deuces.